The Economist.
George Buckley is the CEO of 3M, the Minnesota Minerals and Mining Company. There are few companies that have been so innovative for so long as 3M. We wanted to find out more, so we asked Mr. George Buckley in for tea. Well, 3M has long been famous for innovation. How do you manage innovation? Is it just a matter of sitting there and hoping that a good idea will come along, or is there more to it than that?
I think there's a bit more to it than that. Obviously, we target specific markets, the ones that we're already in. So we have a strong belief in staying in the core. So the best way to ensure innovation is alive and well is to make sure you have a strong core, and the best way for you to guarantee the possibility of a large breakout program is to have lots of little breakout programs.
Now, everybody associates 3M with post-it notes. Are there any other ideas that you've generated recently in the last few years that people might know about in their ordinary lives?
Sure. Well, first of all, we were, for example, the company that invented the heart-lung machine and many other of these seminal inventions throughout history. The reason you can see an image on a flat-screen television, for example, is the optics and the films that magnify that image and polarize that image are made by 3M. It's said that the average person walking the surface of the earth touches 17 3M products every single day, but you just don't know it.
Innovation can't really happen without failure. You need to have failure if you're going to experiment. Big companies, I get the sense that big companies are very nervous about failure. They don't like failure too much. Managers quite often worry that failure will be held against them. How do you give people the courage to be experimental and to fail?
It's when you celebrate the success,
Yeah.
when you don't punish the failure, when you try to make sure that there's genuine learning, and I don't mean in some kind of silly, artificial way, but there's okay, what do we learn about this? Now, what do we do right? What did we do wrong? Shall we try this again, but do this piece differently? Ultimately, the real trick is to know when to pull the plug. And I will say that there is no real scientific way to know when to pull the plug, because it's like so many things in life, that are to do with something new. There's no data on the future. So all you can do really is say, look, my judgment is that this pathway is a fruitless pathway to go down. And so you make some kind of judgment call that I'm going to pull back or stop or whatever.
Well, we've had a very tough time over the last couple of years in the West. What have been the biggest problems facing your company?
I think the challenges for us are getting enough scientists. We are a science-based company, and we do have some challenges in America right now with there aren't enough science graduates. It might interest you to know that 68% of the doctoral science graduates in the United States are foreign-born. In the old days, because of the attractions of America and perhaps fewer attractions in some foreign parts, it was relatively easy to get those people to stay in the country. But today, with the attractiveness of growth in Asia, in China, in India, and other places, it's less of an easy sell to get people to stay in America. On top of that, under the Clinton administration, we had 190,000 H-1B visas. That's the specialist visas for special skills to stay in the country. Today we only have 60,000. So the only alternative that we have is we have to port some of this science into places where we can get those scientists. So, and there's really it's a two-sided story. One, on the one hand, that's where the markets are, and so that's where you have to be. But there's also a sort of defensive part of this. So that's the offensive part of it, but there's a defensive part of this particular strategy which says, look, in order to secure the future of the company, we have no choice but to port that science to these other places where we can get those scientists. So that's one of our big challenges. And I think another thing which might interest people is, we have learned over the years to compete with the great iconic companies of the world. I mean, we have some fabulous competitors, really good companies who we, of course, we always try to defeat every day, but we respect greatly. They aren't our problem. The problem for a company of 3M's nature, of a global nature, are local competitors. These are companies that were 20 million, 2 years ago, or 50 million last year, they're 200 million today. And of course, they compete in different ways than we do. The only way that we really have a chance of competing against them is to be local. You know, we have to manufacture local, source local, lead local, develop local. It's the only way that we have a chance of competing against them.